Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Short Term Rentals with the one and only TJ Tijani. Thank you for coming today.
No problem, no problem. Glad to be here as always.
And today we're going to talk about why
Mm,
you, TJ, love being in short term rentals. So, first of all, why is it that you can make more money doing short
mhm,
term rentals in comparison to long term?
mhm. Yeah, 100%. If you're doing it right, your STR should be bringing in, on average, at least 3x what a traditional LTR would bring. So, and of course, it's self-explanatory as to why this would happen, because when you think about it, like in a long-term rental, if you can rent your property out for $1,500 a month, and that's your LTR, that's your long-term rental, but you can probably rent that same property out for $150 a day and bring in $3,000 in a month, and that you pay off your mortgage or your rent for $1,500 a month, and then the rest is yours. So you know one of the best things that is available to us with this strategy over long-term rentals is the additional cash flow. Like, I don't even think that if it didn't make more sense from a cash flow perspective, people will be doing the strategy as much as they are, because it's one of the benefits. Now, you might look at it and say that, well, the short-term rental strategy, though, is a lot more involved than the long-term rental, because now you just rent out an empty property. They just call you when something breaks, and you collect rents, and that's essentially it. You're not having to handle maintenance issues. I mean, you do have to handle maintenance issues, but you're not having to handle turnover issues, and you're not having to handle security issues and lockout issues and inventory and furnishing the property and all that stuff. So when the short-term rental side, though, although it's more involved, what I learned, and I had to learn this the hard way, and what's beautiful about it is that I can build a team and systems around all the stuff, all the extra that it is. I can outsource all the extra that it is and still take advantage of the additional cash flow upside. So when I really processed it, I said, well, why don't I just do this? Like, I can just do short-term rentals. Then I said that, you know what? I will do both, right? I can have some properties that are short-term rentals and some properties that are long-term rentals, just in case it's risky, say something happens over here. Then I learned that I was like, well, you buy your properties like long-term rentals anyway. Why not make them all short-term rentals? And if something happens and you need to make them long-term rentals, you can. But why don't limit the property now? Squeeze as much as you can off the property right now, which is what we did. So we transitioned all of our units to be short-term rentals from long-term rentals, and then we started scaling our short-term rental business as well. And so you have that. You have the fact that, you set your price, right? You change the prices. Your prices fluctuate. It's not a set fixed price that you're getting every single month. You can charge more for every day. You can charge more on a daily basis when you're doing a short-term rental. And also, you have to look at the fact that short-term rental properties are way better maintained than long-term rentals. The last long-term rental turnover I did, I spent about $4,000
Oh my God.
just to do the make ready, just to get it ready for the next tenant, because the previous tenant stayed for about 2 years and they didn't take good care of it. It was trashed, and you can imagine somebody was in there for 2 years, never had a maid come in there one time.
Oh
And
no.
so you can imagine how kind of dirty that property was. But so we had to spend about $4,000 to clean it up and touch up paint and fix holes in the wall and all that stuff. But when you walk in my very first short-term rental right now, it looks the same way it did when I first launched it in 2017, right? So that's one of the beautiful things. The property is going to be well maintained. Not just maintenance in terms of maintenance issues, but just maintenance of the property overall. The property will have a much longer shelf life if you're doing it right. So,
That's right.
100%, those are like some of the main reasons why I much, much, much value short-term rentals over traditional long-term rentals, for sure.
And I feel like in the case of maintenance, especially because the wear and tear of the property itself, the furnishings and everything, is going to be way less because you literally have these guests coming for just a couple of days. They're not staying years in there. They don't have like their dogs there for like 20 years or something like
Yeah.
that. So in the case of maintenance still though, who is in charge of paying for all of this? Because I know that it it's different in the case of arbitrage and in the case of owning.
Yeah.
So who pays for the maintenance, including this?
Usually what happens is when you arbitrage, the apartment complex or the landlord tends to have their own maintenance person. And that's usually the case. They'll have like their maintenance person. And a lot of times though, I recommend people, even if you're renting it and you are doing arbitrage, I recommend having your own maintenance person on standby. Because a lot of times when a maintenance issue is needed to be addressed, you need to address it rather quickly. Mm-hmm. And so if the plan A maintenance, which is the owner's maintenance, if they're moving too slow or they're not available, then you got to be able to have somebody that's going to be able to address that issue right away. So when you arbitrage, plan A is their maintenance person. If they don't have a maintenance person or their maintenance person isn't available, this is another reason why you need to have your own maintenance person
as a backup plan.
As a backup plan. Or if they don't have one, that's now your maintenance person is the maintenance guy. And so if you own it, that's essentially self-explanatory. Like you have to have somebody that you can rely on that's on maintenance. For us in our business, we have a maintenance person that he's on retainer. He gets paid twice a month on salary, whether we have 0 maintenance calls that month or 30 maintenance calls that month, he gets paid the exact same. And that's how we like it. He's happy. We're happy. That way, any maintenance issue that we need, boom, he's right there whenever we need it.
That's right. And I feel like it also provides a better service for your guests because they know every time that they see one of TJ's listings, they're like, I know that he's going to take care of me. Yes. Doesn't matter if it breaks, like if the sink breaks in the middle of the night, he's going to take care of me.
And oh, by the way, also, one of the things is actually one of the selling points that we use for our arbitrage deals. When we talk to the landlords, we let them know like, hey, any maintenance issues up to $200, we handle it. We handle maintenance issues up to $200. And if there's a maintenance issues that is above $200, we'll still oversee it if you need us to. And we will let you know once it's done. And then we'll invoice you for it or bill you for it. So maintenance is one of those things that not only is it great for your business to have because it helps your business and your guests, but it's also a selling point when we're looking to pick up properties as well.
And you mentioned up to 200. So if it's more than 200, that would be under the landlord's responsibility.
Yes.
And why is that?
Because we just found that that's a nice sweet spot for us to where we're not feeling like a big blow to our income, but still provides enough incentive for the landlord. It still is a good amount to where the landlord still feels that there's a lot of value there. So where it still incentivizes the landlord, because as a landlord, we know that a lot of issues come up that are under $200, like just little small minor issues that we get calls for that are the most annoying ones. And honestly, those issues that are under $200 are the most annoying issues, clogged toilet, all that stuff. Like we don't want to be calling the landlord for that.
Broke handle on the door.
Broken handle on the door, exactly. Things like that, broken toilet seat. So that's another main one. We just had an issue. The guest said, "Oh my God, I was dancing and I moved a little too hard. She elbowed the wall, put a hole in the wall."
Oh, wow.
Like these things happen. So pass it up. Had our guy go.
What type of dancing they were doing?
I have no clue. I don't know what kind of dancing they were doing. That's my question. I said, "What kind of moves y'all putting on? Put a hole in the wall?" But yeah, I mean, we went to go get all the stuff, pass it up. Cost us about $70 to do it. Like it wasn't even nothing crazy. And so, but you can imagine you call a landlord with that. Like
they're gonna be like, "Oh no, he's trashing my property, never again."
But now you fix it, you handle it. You send an email to the landlord and say, "Hey, this happened. Here are the pictures. We fixed it. Here's the pictures that is fixed. Just let you know it's already handled." Do you understand the kind of value that is for a landlord? Like, you know how much they would appreciate you? How much they want to keep renewing that lease? Like, you're taking great care of their property, which in a lot of cases, nobody has taken care of their property like that for them. A lot of landlords have not even experienced that level of care from a tenant.
That's right. Another thing that you mentioned is the flexibility that you decide whether you want to keep it as a short-term rental or you can just switch it to a long-term rental.
Yep, 100%. Because at the end of the day, all of our properties are short-term rentals, but we buy them as if they're long-term rentals. And when I'm talking about that option to move, it's more so about having a backup plan. Having that option is for us, our option plan A is always going to be short-term rentals. But if we can have something to fall back on in the case that we need to be based on deed restrictions, maybe HOA came in the mix and got involved and said that, hey, now we're finding ourselves having to pivot from our short-term rental strategy. But if we didn't buy it right, now we're in trouble, right? So we want to make sure when we pivot in a way that, okay, well, I got to put a regular tenant in here. All right, I'm good. On to the next property. That's just going to be in our traditional rental portfolio, whatever the case may be. We'll find another short-term rental property. No problem, no harm, no foul. So having that flexibility to pivot is where you want to be.
And I feel like another part of flexibility within short-term rentals is like, let's say that you have this amazing property in a super beautiful area, I don't know, in Florida, and you're taking all your family. You can even use that property instead of using a hotel at that point.
Yes, 100%. And that's the thing. A lot of times, and that's one of the things that we're looking to do. We want to actually have a short-term rental under ownership in a lot of these markets and cities that we like to travel to. That way we can just stay there instead of staying at a hotel, right? We just stay at our own units, which is amazing. So that's why the Miami one that we're looking to do got to go down, because I like to go to Miami.
And especially because like if you are staying on your own property, all of those expenses are already covered with all the income that you're already getting from that property.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you have your own, you're essentially staying for free because your guests are paying for the expenses over and then some, 100%.
Which is an amazing opportunity, I feel like, for all of those future investors that are listening to us. If you have your family and you really love traveling, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to get into short-term rentals. Because you can definitely make not only all of these vacations like way more affordable than before, but you can also make profits out of them. Another of the things that you mentioned is that you use Airbnb, VRBO. From a marketing perspective, I feel like that's even easier to advertise than in the case of a short long-term rental.
Yeah. One of the things that you got to understand in any business, you got to understand that one of the most important components of your business is the marketing component. And that's in any business. It's a lot of times marketing, if you don't, there's a saying in entrepreneurship, it said the day that you stop marketing, you don't have a business anymore. Oh, wow. And so one of the things I love about the short-term rental strategy is that marketing is almost built in a way, because you got to think about it. When people want to travel, they know that they need somewhere to stay. And because they know they need somewhere to stay, they know where to go to get set accommodations for their stay. And so because of that, we're kind of at a unique advantage because of that. You got to think about it in the sense of trying to catch a cat. If you're trying to catch a cat, you don't go chasing the cat. You bring something of value for the cat. That way they know where to come. So I would bring like some milk or some cat food and let the cat come to you. It's the same thing in the short-term rental game when it comes to marketing. People know where to go to get set accommodations. They know to go to these OTAs. They know I want somewhere to stay. If they're going to go to a hotel site, if they're going to go to a hotel, they're going to go to an Airbnb, or they're going to go to VRBO. They're going to probably book at booking.com to see what's all available. And so because of that, now we're at a unique position because we can say, okay, we know where they're going. Let's just make sure that we're everywhere that they're going to be. And so now we can market our properties. And for us, marketing our properties, make sure we're on all the OTAs. The more highs you can get on your listings, the more opportunities you get for you to get booked. So you want to get across all the OTAs. You want to get on Airbnb. You want to get on booking.com. You want to get on VRBO. You want to get on all these OTAs, but you just want to make sure that they're succinct. To make sure that you also, if you're going to be on multiple OTAs, you want to have your channel manager, or also known as your property management software, your PMS. Mm-hmm. And when you have your channel manager, this is what allows you to sync all your calendars. That way, if you have an Airbnb listing, that same listing's on Booking.com, that same listing's on VRBO. And also say that same listing is on your direct booking website. Oh. You can make sure that they are all linked together. That way, if somebody books on Booking.com, all those dates are blocked off on all the other sites. And so you want to get as many eyes on your listing as possible. So that's going to help your marketing efforts for sure. But when you do that, you want to make sure that you have your PMS system. That way, all your calendars are talking to each other succinctly. And that'll put you in the best shape possible. But 100%, you want to have as many eyes on your listing as possible. And that way you maximize your chances of getting booked. Because if you only on one, which of course everybody starts with Airbnb, which I do recommend. If you're going to start somewhere, start with Airbnb. But definitely get to where you got multiple eyes on your listing for sure.
And that's also one of the things that we love about short-term rentals, that you have software that actually helps you manage all of these properties once you grow your portfolio. Even if you just have one property or you have 20 properties, you can just manage them with software, which is not always the case in the case of like, let's say, single family home.
Yep.
Because you have to be like in person or have a manager or someone in person being there.
Yep.
But I feel like with short-term rentals, you kind of lift up the pressure and all the many duties that we have to do by having software that actually allows you to make everything more automated.
100%. The software, the technology piece is what makes this business fun in a way. And when I say fun, fun business is a business that I don't have to work in. That's a fun business. And technology allows us to make that transition of being technicians in our business and working in our business to being the entrepreneur and working on our business. That is a beauty of technology in the short-term rental game.
And at the same time, it allows people that are into technology, and by opening doors of opportunity for them to work within an industry that keeps growing and growing.
Yes, 100%.
Definitely the way to go. Thank you so much again, TJ, for showing us more about short-term rentals and why we truly love short-term rentals.
100%.
Thank you so much. And thank you to our audience for staying tuned into this episode. We're going to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.